Earth's prototype. Warship was Ridiculed, until it wiped out the entire Armada. The massive space station called Nexus Prime floated in the darkness between stars. It was the size of a small moon, built by dozens of alien races working together. Today, it hosted the most important military event in the galaxy. Ships from hundreds of different worlds gathered here to show off their newest weapons and warships. Captain Ji-Wan Kang stood in the presentation hall and felt very small. Around her, aliens of every shape and size filled the seats. Some had scales, others had fur. Some breathed oxygen like humans. Others wore special suits. But they all had one thing in common. They were all here to see who had built the best warship. Ji-Wan wore her Earth military uniform. It was simple and blue, nothing fancy. She kept her hands behind her back and tried to look confident. Next to her stood engineer Yuna Park, the woman who had designed their ship. Yuna looked nervous. She kept checking her data pad, going over the numbers one more time. Admiral Minho Choi sat in the front row with other Earth representatives. He had worked hard to get humanity a spot at this summit. Earth was new to the Galactic Coalition. Most aliens still saw humans as primitive creatures who had barely learned to travel between stars. The presentation before theirs was ending. A species called the Corthans showed their newest dreadnought on the massive screens. It was beautiful. The ship looked like a blade made of silver and light. Its hull seemed to shift and shimmer. The Corthan commander, a tall being named Velrith, spoke with pride. "Our vessel uses quantum displacement drives," Velrith said. "It can jump short distances during battle. Our plasma shields can withstand sustained fire from any known weapon. Our photon torpedoes can destroy a moon." The audience made sounds of approval. Some clapped, others made clicking noises or flashed lights. It was how different species showed they were impressed. Then it was Earth's turn. The lights dimmed. On the screens appeared the image of Earth's warship. They had named it the Defiant. The room went silent. Then someone laughed. Then another. Soon dozens of aliens were making sounds that Ji-Wan understood as mockery, even if she could not speak their languages. The Defiant looked nothing like the sleek alien ships. It was blocky and ugly. Its hull was covered in thick metal plates that overlapped like scales on a fish. It had rotating sections that spun slowly to create artificial gravity. Strange antennas stuck out at odd angles. The weapons were visible on the outside, no smooth, hidden systems here. Ji-Wan cleared her throat and began speaking. A device on her collar translated her words into hundreds of languages at once. "The Defiant represents Earth's approach to space warfare," she said. "It uses reinforced steel armor with multiple layers. The hull can take damage and keep functioning. We use rotational gravity instead of artificial gravity fields because it never fails and needs no power." More laughter rippled through the crowd. Yuna stepped forward. "Our power system uses nuclear fission reactors," she said. "Our main weapons are railguns. They fire solid projectiles using magnetic acceleration. We also carry conventional missiles with various warheads." A Corthan scientist stood up. Ji-Wan recognized him from earlier. His name was difficult to pronounce, so everyone called him by a shorter version. "Excuse me," the scientist said. "Did you say nuclear fission? As in splitting atoms? That technology is thousands of years old." "Yes," Yuna replied. "It is simple and reliable." "And railguns?" another alien called out. "You fight with metal slugs? Why not use plasma weapons or photon beams?" "Because railguns are effective," Yuna said calmly. Commander Velrith stood up from his seat. He was large and imposing, with dark purple skin and 4 arms. "I have run calculations," he announced. "Your Defiant would last exactly 47 seconds against a single Corthan cruiser. 47 seconds. This is not a warship." "This is a joke!" The room erupted with sounds. Aliens talking, laughing, making their species' version of scoffing sounds. Admiral Minho looked down at his hands. His face was red with embarrassment. A representative from a species called the Volthene spoke up. "Humans, we appreciate your courage in presenting here, but perhaps you need more time to develop proper military technology. Space warfare requires sophisticated systems, energy shields, antimatter weapons, quantum computers. Your ship looks like something from a museum." "It is built with old technology, yes," Ji-Won said, keeping her voice level. "But every system has a reason. Every choice was deliberate." "The reason being you cannot build better," Velrith said, and the room laughed again. Ji-Won felt anger rising in her chest, but she pushed it down. She glanced at Yuna, who gave her a small nod. They had expected this. They had known how the galaxy would react. "We chose simplicity," Ji-Won said. "We chose systems that can be repaired in the field. We chose weapons that work without exotic materials or complex computers. We chose redundancy over elegance." "You chose weakness," Velrith said. "In the real galaxy, ships like yours are target practice." The presentation ended badly. As aliens filed out of the hall, Ji-Won could hear them still talking and laughing. Some pointed at the Earth delegation, others whispered to each other, probably wondering how humans had even survived this long in space. Admiral Minho approached Ji-Won and Yuna. His face was tight with controlled anger, but not at them. "I am sorry you had to endure that," he said quietly. "The Council will hear about this disrespect." "It is fine, sir," Ji-Won said. "We knew what would happen." "Did we accomplish anything here?" Minho asked. "They think we are fools." Yuna smiled slightly. "They think we are primitive. That is exactly what we need them to think." Later that evening, Ji-Won stood at an observation window looking out at the gathered fleet. Hundreds of ships floated in formation around Nexus Prime. They were all beautiful, all deadly, all expensive. Yuna joined her at the window. For a long time, they said nothing. "Do you think it will work?" Ji-Won finally asked. "The Defiant was built for a specific purpose," Yuna replied. "Not to impress politicians or to look good at summits. It was built to win fights, real fights, dirty fights." "They do not understand," Ji-Won said. "No," Yuna agreed. "They do not understand that in war, fancy technology is not always the answer. Sometimes the simple solution is the best solution. Sometimes a hammer works better than a laser." Ji-Won watched a Korthan dreadnought drift past. It glowed with internal power, probably cost more resources than some planets produced in a year. "How many Defiants could we build for the cost of one of those?" she asked. 20, Yuna said. "Maybe 25? Ji-Won smiled for the first time that day. "Then let them laugh. Let them think we are primitive. When the time comes, we will show them what human engineering really means." Far below them, in the docking bay, the Defiant waited. It was ugly and simple, and looked completely outmatched. But inside its crude hull were surprises that no one in the galaxy expected. Surprises that would soon change everything. The summit continued for 3 more days. In that time, the Korthan Empire made several aggressive statements about expanding their territory. They hinted that some border regions with human colonies might be reassessed. They said this with smiles, knowing that no one would stand up for the weak, primitive humans. No one knew that they had just made the worst mistake of their existence. Earth's prototype. Warship was ridiculed until it wiped out the entire Armada. 3 weeks passed since the humiliating presentation at Nexus Prime. Captain Ji-Won Kang had returned to Earth, expecting to take some leave time. Instead, she received emergency orders. Report to the Defiant immediately. Prepare for deployment to the border regions. Something was happening with the Korthans. Ji-Won arrived at the shipyard where the Defiant was docked. The ship looked the same as always, ugly, blocky, and covered in thick metal plates. Workers moved around it, loading supplies and running final checks. She felt a strange pride looking at it. This was her ship, even if the galaxy thought it was garbage. Inside the ship, her crew was already assembling. Lieutenant Do-Yun Lee met her at the airlock. He was young for a tactical officer, only 26, but his mind worked faster than the ship's computers. "Captain," he said, saluting, "we have been monitoring Korthan fleet movements. They are massing ships near our border colonies." "How many ships?" Ji-Won asked as they walked through the corridors. "Last count was 32, but more arrive every day." They reached the bridge. It was cramped compared to the spacious alien bridges Ji-Won had seen. Everything was functional, no wasted space. Screens covered the walls, showing sensor data and star maps. The crew sat at their stations, waiting. Engineer Yuna Park was already there, bent over a console. She looked up when Ji-Won entered. "Captain, we have a problem," Yuna said. "Actually, several problems." Ji-Won sat in the captain's chair. It was worn and comfortable. "Tell me." "First problem, the Korthans destroyed a mining station in the Kepler sector. They claim it was in disputed space. 3,000 people died." Ji-Won felt her stomach tighten. Earth Command's response? They filed a formal protest with the Galactic Coalition. The Coalition is studying the situation. "Studying," Ji-Won repeated bitterly. "While people die." "Second problem," Yuna continued. "The Coalition refuses to intervene. They say the border disputes are too complex. They suggest both sides negotiate." "Of course they do," Do-Yun said from his station. "They do not want to anger the Korthans. The Korthan Empire is powerful. Humanity is new and weak." Ji-Won pulled up the star map. Red markers showed Korthan ship positions. Blue markers showed human colonies. The red was spreading, getting closer to the blue. A woman in medical uniform entered the bridge. Dr. Hana Shin was the ship's xenopolitics specialist. She studied alien cultures and governments. Right now, she looked worried. "Captain, I have been analyzing Korthan communications," Hana said. "This is not random aggression. This is a planned expansion. They are testing us." "Testing how far they can push before we push back," Ji-Won said. "Exactly. And they think we will not push back at all. After the summit, after seeing the Defiant, they believe we are helpless." An alert sounded. The communications officer, Ensign Minji Han, looked up from her station. "Incoming message from Earth Command," Minji said. "Priority Alpha." "Put it through," Ji-Won ordered. Admiral Minho Choi's face appeared on the main screen. He looked tired. Behind him, Ji-Won could see other officers rushing around. "Captain Kang, the situation has escalated. The Korthan High Commander Dravik has issued an ultimatum. Humanity has 48 hours to withdraw from 5 border systems. If we refuse, they will remove us by force." 5 systems? Ji-Won stood up. "Sir, those systems have colonies. There are over 1 million people living there." "I know," Minho said. "The coalition has been informed. They are calling for talks. But talks take time, and we do not have time." "What are our orders, Admiral?" Minho was quiet for a moment. "The Defiant is our only major warship currently in that region. You are ordered to proceed to the Helix Nebula and hold position. Make it clear that humanity will not back down." Yuna spoke up. "Admiral, with respect, Korthan intelligence has calculated the Defiant would last less than a minute against their fleet. They have 47 ships now. We have one." "I am aware of the odds, Engineer Park," Minho said. "But we cannot show weakness. If we retreat now, the Korthans will take everything. Sometimes you have to stand and fight even when you know you might lose." Ji-Won understood. This was politics as much as military strategy. Even if the Defiant was destroyed, its sacrifice would force the galaxy to notice. It would shame the Coalition into action. Maybe. "We will not let you down, sir," Ji-Won said. "I know you will not," Minho replied. "And Captain, the Defiant was built for a reason. Trust your ship. Trust your engineer. Earth Command believes in you." The transmission ended. The bridge was silent. Everyone was thinking the same thing. They were being sent to face impossible odds. They might all die in the next few days. Ji-Won looked at her crew. "Helm, set course for the Helix Nebula. Best speed." "Aye, Captain," the helmsman replied. The Defiant shuddered as its engines came to full power. It was not a smooth feeling like on alien ships. The Defiant's engines were brute force, chemical rockets and nuclear thermal drives. You could feel every ounce of thrust. As they accelerated away from Earth, Yuna approached Ji-Won's chair. She spoke quietly, so only the captain could hear. "We need to talk about the ship's real capabilities," Yuna said. "I thought we already knew everything about the Defiant. You know what was in the official reports. But there are systems I did not tell the admirals about, systems I built in secret." Ji-Won raised an eyebrow. "That sounds like insubordination." "It is. But I knew that if the brass knew everything, they might get overconfident. Or they might interfere with the design. I needed freedom to build what I knew would work." They walked to Yuna's engineering station. She pulled up schematics that Ji-Won had never seen before. "The armor is not just steel," Yuna explained. "It has a nanomaterial layer between the plates. If the hull is damaged, the nanomaterial can partially repair itself. Not fast, but enough to keep us fighting." "What else?" "The railguns can fire special rounds, not just solid tungsten. We have rounds with shaped explosive charges, rounds that split into fragments, rounds that carry EMP warheads." Ji-Won stared at the screens. "Why tungsten slugs at all, then?" "Because everyone expects us to use them. They will design their tactics around stopping solid projectiles. Then we surprise them." "What about the hunter-killer drones I heard rumors about?" Yuna smiled. "Not rumors. We carry 3,000 of them, small missiles, each with basic AI. They are stupid by galactic standards. They use 1980s computer technology. But that means enemy quantum jammers cannot affect them. They think for themselves, share information through simple radio, and they never give up once they lock onto a target." Over the next 30 hours, as the Defiant traveled toward the border, Yuna explained every hidden feature. The nuclear-pumped lasers that looked like simple emergency lights. The EMP-hardened systems that could function even if hit by electromagnetic pulses. The multiple redundant computers, each one stupid alone, but together creating a network that was nearly impossible to fully destroy. "We built this ship to be underestimated," Yuna said. "Every alien who sees it thinks they know what it can do." "They are wrong," Do-Yun called out from Tactical. "Captain, sensors are picking up the Korthan fleet." "They are right where intelligence said they would be." "How many?" Ji-Won asked. 47 ships. 3 are dreadnought class. The rest are cruisers and destroyers." Ji-Won felt her mouth go dry. 47 ships. The Defiant was alone. "Captain," Minji said, "we are receiving a transmission from the Korthan flagship. It is High Commander Dravik himself." "Put it on screen." A Korthan face appeared. Dravik was old for his species, with deep purple skin and scars across his face. His 4 arms moved expressively as he spoke. "Human vessel Defiant," Dravik said. "You are in Korthan territory. Your species has 1 hour to withdraw from this region completely. If you remain, we will destroy you and then proceed to your colonies. This is your only warning." Ji-Won stood up. "This is Captain Ji-Won Kang of the Earth vessel Defiant. This space is not Korthan territory. It is disputed space, and we will not abandon our people." "Then you will die," Dravik said simply. "Your primitive ship against my armada. It will take less than a minute." "Maybe," Jiwan said. "Or maybe you do not understand what you are facing." Dravik laughed. "I saw your ship at Nexus Prime. I know exactly what I am facing. A floating target." The transmission ended. Jiwan turned to her crew. They were all looking at her, waiting. "All hands, battle stations," she said. "Yuna, bring all systems online. Do-hyun, prepare firing solutions. Taiho, make sure every weapon is ready." Chief Weapons Officer Taeho Song nodded from his station. He had been quiet until now, but his hands moved over his controls with confidence. "Captain," Do-hyun said, "they massively outgun us. If we fight, we probably die." "Probably," Jiwan agreed. "But we are going to make them remember this fight. We are going to show the galaxy that humans do not run. And who knows? Maybe we will surprise everyone." She sat back in her chair and watched the Korthan fleet on the sensors. 47 ships, all of them more advanced than the Defiant, all of them confident in their victory. Let them be confident, she thought. Overconfidence is a weakness. "Helm, take us straight toward their fleet," Jiwan ordered. "Full speed." The Defiant accelerated, ugly and crude and terribly outmatched. But inside its metal hull, systems were activating, weapons were charging, and a crew of 800 humans prepared to fight. Earth's prototype warship was ridiculed until it wiped out the entire Armada. The Helix Nebula was a strange place to fight a battle. Clouds of gas and dust glowed with the light of dying stars. Radiation levels were high. Sensor readings were unreliable. Most species avoided this area, but Captain Jiwan Kang had chosen it deliberately. The Defiant hung in space, waiting. Around it, the Korthan Armada approached in perfect formation, 47 ships, each one sleek and deadly. They moved like predators, confident and unhurried. On the bridge, the tension was thick enough to cut. Lieutenant Do-hyun Lee watched his tactical displays, calculating angles and distances. Engineer Yuna Park monitored power levels, making tiny adjustments to keep everything running perfectly. Chief Weapons Officer Taeho Song had his hands over the firing controls, ready. "They are taking their time," Do-hyun observed. "They want us to be afraid. Let them play their games," Jiwan said calmly. "Status of all systems? Reactors at 100%, Yuna reported. Shields online. All weapons ready. The nanomaterial hull reinforcement is active." "Communications?" Jiwan asked. Ensign Minji Han nodded. "We have a direct line to Earth Command. They are watching everything." High Commander Dravik's face appeared on the main screen again. Behind him, Jiwan could see the command bridge of a Korthan dreadnought. It was massive, filled with dozens of officers working at stations that looked like works of art. "Human captain," Dravik said. "Last chance. Retreat now, and we will let you live." "We are not leaving," Jiwan replied. "Then witness how the galaxy deals with primitives who do not know their place," Dravik said. He gestured with one of his 4 arms. "All ships, open fire. Destroy them." The transmission cut off. For a moment, everything was silent. Then space lit up with weapons fire. Plasma bolts, green and bright, came from a dozen Korthan ships at once. They streaked across the void, moving at incredible speeds. Photon torpedoes followed, leaving trails of blue light. Energy beams lanced out, so powerful they distorted space around them. The Defiant's shields flared as the weapons hit. Bright flashes surrounded the ship. Alarms started ringing. "Shields down to 70%, Yuna shouted. "They are hitting us hard." "Return fire," Jiwan ordered. Taiho pressed his controls. The Defiant's railguns fired. To the Korthans, it must have looked pathetic. Simple metal slugs, fired by magnetic acceleration. Primitive technology. They had probably expected this. What they did not expect was the speed. The tungsten rounds left the railguns at 3% of light speed. That was faster than most people could understand. At that velocity, mass did not matter. Even a small object carried devastating energy. The rounds hit a Corthan cruiser. The ship's shields were designed to deflect energy weapons, plasma, lasers, particle beams. They worked by creating fields of force that bent and scattered directed energy. But these were not energy weapons. These were solid objects, real mass, real momentum. The rounds punched straight through the shields like they were not there. They hit the cruiser's hull and kept going. The ship's armor, designed to ablate under energy weapons, offered no resistance to kinetic impact at relativistic speeds. The cruiser exploded. One moment it was there, firing its weapons. The next moment, it was an expanding cloud of debris. The Corthan fleet hesitated, just for a second, just long enough to show surprise. "Direct hit," Do-Yun reported, his voice showing his own surprise. "One cruiser destroyed." "Keep firing," Ji-Won said. "Yuna, how are the shields?" "Holding at 60%. Multiple generators are taking hits, but the redundancy is working. When one fails, another takes over." More Corthan fire came at them. The Defiant shuddered and shook. Somewhere in the ship, metal groaned. Damage reports started coming in. "Hull breach on Deck 9, a voice called over the intercom. "Sealing emergency bulkheads." "Shield Generator 3 is offline," Yuna said. "Switching to Generator 7. Ji-Won gripped her chair. "Helm. Evasive pattern Soul Shuffle." The helmsman nodded and began a complex maneuver. The Defiant was not nimble like the alien ships. It could not make sharp turns or sudden stops, but it could do something the aliens were not expecting. The rotating sections of the ship, the ones that created artificial gravity by spinning, could be used as a weapon. By firing thrusters at precisely timed moments, coordinated with the rotation, the Defiant could move in ways that looked random and chaotic. Alien targeting computers, designed to predict smooth movements and calculate firing solutions based on momentum and trajectory, suddenly could not get a lock. The Defiant was moving in ways that should not be possible. "They are confused," Do-Hyun said, watching the enemy weapons fire miss by larger and larger margins. "Their computers cannot predict our movement." "Because we are not using computers to move," Yuna said with satisfaction. "We are using physics and human intuition." Taiho fired again. Another cruiser exploded. Then another. High Commander Dravik's voice came over the communication channel. He was not calm anymore. "What is happening? How are they hitting us? Those are simple projectile weapons. Our shields should stop them." Someone on his bridge responded. Ji-Won could not understand the Corthan language, but she understood the tone. It was fear. "Captain," Yuna said, "I think it is time for the hunter-killers." Ji-Won nodded. "Deploy them." Taiho pressed a sequence of buttons. All over the Defiant's hull, hatches opened. Small objects launched into space, thousands of them. Each one was about the size of a person's arm. They looked crude. Simple cylinders with basic thrusters and simple sensors. The Corthan fleet barely noticed them at first. They were too busy trying to hit the Defiant and avoid the railgun fire. Then the hunter-killer drones activated. Each drone had a simple computer inside, not a quantum computer or an advanced AI, just a basic processor running basic code. They could identify enemy ships. They could navigate. They could adjust their course. And they could share information with each other through simple radio signals. The drones swarmed. 3,000 of them, moving in groups, coordinating their attacks. A Corthan destroyer tried to use its quantum jammer. The device created interference that disrupted advanced communications and targeting systems. It was a standard defensive tool. It did nothing to the hunter-killers. Their radios were too simple to jam. Their computers were too basic to confuse. The drones hit the destroyer in waves. Each one carried a small explosive charge. One drone alone could barely scratch a warship's armor. But 300 drones all hitting the same section of hull within seconds of each other? The destroyer's armor buckled. Hull plates tore. Atmosphere vented. The ship listed to one side, its engines failing. "It is working," Do-hyun said. "The drones are overwhelming their point defenses." Korthan ships tried to shoot down the drones. Their automated weapons fired in all directions. They destroyed hundreds of drones. But for every drone destroyed, 10 more got through. Another cruiser lost power. Another began tumbling, its control systems damaged. Ji-won watched the tactical display. The Korthan formation was breaking apart. Ships were moving erratically, trying to avoid the swarms of drones. They were not working together anymore. They were panicking. "All ships!" Dravik's voice screamed over the open channel. "Focus all fire on the human vessel. Forget the drones. Destroy the source." The entire Korthan fleet turned its attention to the Defiant. Every weapon, every ship, all at once. The universe turned bright with weapons fire. "Shields failing!" Yuna shouted. "Generators 2, 4, and 7 are destroyed. 8 is overloading. Hull breaches on decks 7 through 12, someone called out. The ship shook so violently that Ji-won was thrown from her chair. She grabbed onto the armrest and pulled herself back up. Around her, consoles sparked. The lights flickered. "Casualties reported from all sections," Minji said, her voice tight. "Medical teams are overwhelmed." "How many?" Ji-won asked. 70 dead. Over 200 wounded." Ji-won felt each number like a knife to her heart. Those were her crew, her people, her responsibility. "Captain," Yuna said, "hull integrity at 40%. We cannot take much more of this." Do-hyun's tactical display showed the situation clearly. The Defiant was surrounded. The Korthan fleet had closed in, forming a sphere around them. There was nowhere to run. They were being hit from every direction. But the Korthan fleet had also lost ships. 10 were destroyed. Another 8 were damaged and limping away. The humans had hurt them. It was not enough, though. The Defiant was dying. Ji-won looked at Yuna. The engineer met her eyes. They both knew what had to happen next. "Is the Kasaba howitzer system ready?" Ji-won asked quietly. "Yes," Yuna replied. "But Captain, if we use it—" "I know. Prepare the system. Taiho, I need firing solutions on every enemy ship within 5,000 kilometers." Taiho's hands moved over his controls. "Solutions calculated. But Captain, the radiation from the detonations will probably kill us, yes," Ji-won said. "But we are already dying. At least this way we take them with us." She opened a ship-wide channel. "All hands, this is the captain. We are about to use our final weapon system. Secure all stations. Seal all bulkheads. Move to the ship's core sections if possible. If you have faith, now is the time to use it. It has been an honor to serve with you all." She closed the channel and looked at her bridge crew. They were all young. They all had families back home. They all knew they might not see another day. "Captain," Do-hyun said, "for what it is worth, I think we did good. We hurt them. We showed them that humans are not prey." "We did better than good, Lieutenant," Ji-won said. "We did the impossible. Now let us finish it." She turned to Taiho. "Activate the Kasaba howitzer. Fire on my mark." Taiho's hand hovered over the control. "Ready, Captain." Ji-won took one last look at the tactical display. 47 ships had come to destroy her. She had already destroyed 10 and damaged 8 more. Not bad for a primitive human warship that was supposed to last only 47 seconds. "Fire," she said. Earth's prototype warship was ridiculed until it wiped out the entire Armada. The Kasaba howitzer was a weapon from another era. Humans had designed it during their Cold War, back when they were still confined to one planet. Back then, they imagined space battles and wondered how to weaponize the most powerful force they had, nuclear bombs. The problem with nuclear weapons in space is simple. In atmosphere, the explosion creates a shock wave, fire and wind and pressure that destroys everything. But in space, there is no air. A nuclear explosion just releases energy in all directions. Most of it disappears into the void, wasted. But what if you could shape that explosion? What if you could direct all that energy in one direction, like water through a hose? That was the Kasaba howitzer, a nuclear bomb with a specially designed casing that turned the explosion into a focused beam of plasma and radiation. The Defiant carried 12 of them. When Chief Weapons Officer Tai-Ho Song pressed the firing control, hatches opened along the Defiant's hull. The weapons launched. They were not missiles. They were just bombs pushed out by simple springs. They tumbled through space toward their targets. The Korthan ships saw them coming. Their sensors analyzed them. Their computers calculated threat levels. "Captain," one Korthan officer reported to High Commander Dravik, "the human ship has launched objects at us. They appear to be primitive nuclear devices." Dravik laughed. "Nuclear weapons? In space? Have they learned nothing? Activate point defense. Destroy those relics before they even reach us." Korthan ships fired their defensive weapons. Beams of energy lanced out. Several of the tumbling bombs were destroyed, their nuclear material scattered harmlessly into space. But 8 reached their detonation points. They exploded. For a moment, new stars were born in the Helix Nebula. Brilliant spheres of nuclear fire expanded outward. Then, the specially designed casings did their work. The explosions were shaped, directed, focused. 8 beams of superheated plasma, moving at a significant fraction of light speed, lanced across the void. The first beam hit a Korthan cruiser dead center. The ship's shields activated automatically. They were powerful shields, designed to deflect energy weapons. They could have stopped a sustained bombardment from a dozen plasma cannons. But this was not a plasma cannon. This was a directed nuclear explosion. The energy released in that single beam was equal to 100 plasma cannons firing at once, for an hour, all concentrated into a single instant. The shields overloaded immediately. They flared bright and died. The beam hit the ship's hull. Armor that was designed to ablate slowly under sustained fire simply vaporized. The beam punched through the ship like it was paper. It went through one side and out the other, cutting the cruiser in half. 7 more beams hit 7 more ships. The results were the same. Metal turned to vapor. Atmosphere explosively decompressed. Reactors went critical and exploded. Crews died before they even knew what happened. 8 Korthan ships simply ceased to exist. On the bridge of the Defiant, Captain Jiwon Kang watched her screens. The radiation from the nuclear explosions washed over her ship. Alarms blared. The hull groaned under the stress. "Radiation levels critical," Unipark shouted over the noise. "Hull temperature rising. We are being cooked!" "All sections, report," Jiwon called out. Reports came in from all over the ship. The forward sections had taken the worst of it. 3 more bulkheads had failed. The radiation had penetrated deep into the ship. Medical was reporting more casualties, but they were still alive. The Defiant's thick, layered hull was doing its job. The radiation was being absorbed, scattered, blocked. Not perfectly, but enough. And the Korthan fleet was reeling. Lieutenant Do-Yun Lee stared at his tactical display in disbelief. "Captain, 18 enemy ships destroyed, 29 remaining, and they are breaking formation." It was true. The perfect Korthan battle formation had shattered. Ships were pulling back, moving erratically. Some were turning to flee. Others were trying to regroup. "They are afraid," Jiwon said. "They did not expect this. They thought they knew what we were capable of." "Captain," Minji said, "we are receiving transmissions from the Korthan fleet. Multiple ships. I think they are panicking." "Put it on speakers," Jiwon ordered. The bridge filled with sounds, alien voices speaking in Korthan language. The translation software worked quickly. "Shields cannot stop those weapons. Never seen anything like this. Requesting permission to withdraw." They are using nuclear weapons. Who does that? High Commander Dravik's voice cut through the chaos. All ships, maintain your positions. They only have primitive weapons. We can still... Another voice interrupted. High Commander, we have lost 18 ships. Our shields are useless against those weapons. We need to retreat and reassess. We do not retreat, Dravik roared. We are the Korthan Armada. We do not run from primitives. But his ships were already running. 3 destroyers broke formation and jumped away, their faster-than-light drives activating. 2 more cruisers followed. They are abandoning the fight, Do-Yun said. Should we pursue? Ji-Wan was about to answer when Yuna spoke up urgently. Captain, I have analyzed the enemy fleet composition. 29 ships remain, but most of them are damaged. Only 15 are at full combat effectiveness. Can we win? Ji-Wan asked. Yuna looked at her console. Then she looked at Ji-Wan. I think we can, if we use everything we have left. Then let us finish this, Ji-Wan said. She opened a channel to the entire Korthan fleet. High Commander Dravik, you came here to destroy us. You came here because you thought we were weak. You were wrong. On her screen, Dravik's face appeared. He looked different now. The confidence was gone. His 4 arms moved nervously. You are using illegal weapons, Dravik said. Nuclear devices are banned by... By whom? Ji-Wan interrupted. The Galactic Coalition? The same coalition that refused to help when you destroyed our mining station? When you killed 3,000 civilians? We are not members of your precious coalition. We will use whatever weapons we choose. You cannot win, Dravik said. We still outnumber you. Yes, you do, Ji-Wan agreed. But you know what? I do not think your ships will stay. I think they will run. Because you made a mistake. You thought technology made you strong. But technology is just tools. What makes you strong is will. Determination. The willingness to keep fighting even when it seems hopeless. She leaned forward. You do not have that. Your ships are crewed by people who joined the military because the Korthan Empire always wins. They never learned how to fight when victory is not certain. But my crew, they are humans. We have been fighting against bad odds since we first climbed down from trees. It is what we do. You are bluffing, Dravik said, but his voice shook. Am I? Ji-Wan asked. Taiho, how many railgun rounds do we have left? 1,800, Captain, Taiho reported. And the hunter-killer drones? 2,000 are still active in hunting. And our Kasaba howitzer weapons? 4 remain. Ji-Wan smiled at Dravik. 4 nuclear weapons left. That is 4 more ships I can turn into vapor, plus 1,800 railgun rounds, plus 2,000 drones. High Commander, I can kill 4 more of your ships right now, guaranteed. Probably 10 more with conventional weapons. Your fleet will be reduced to 15 ships. And how many will run when they see their friends die? How many will stay to fight? Dravik said nothing. Behind him, Ji-Wan could see his officers talking urgently. Some were pointing at screens. Some were shaking their heads. Here is what is going to happen, Ji-Wan continued. You are going to order your fleet to withdraw. You are going to leave this region of space. You are going to pay reparations for the mining station you destroyed. And you are going to remember this day. Remember the day when the primitive humans showed you that fancy ships and advanced weapons do not win wars. People win wars. And if I refuse? Dravik asked. Then we keep fighting. I will lose. The Defiant will be destroyed, but I will take most of your fleet with me. And when Earth builds more ships like the Defiant, and we will build more, they will come for you. They will come for the Korthan Empire. And you know what? Our ships might be ugly. They might use old technology. But we can build 20 of them for the cost of one of yours. How many ships do you have? How many can you afford to lose? The transmission was silent. Dravik stared at Ji-Wan. She stared back, keeping her face calm even though inside she was praying he would accept. Finally, Dravik spoke. You have won today, human. But this is not over. Yes, it is, Ji-Wan said. Because if you ever attack human space again, next time we will not be polite. Next time we will not wait for you to shoot first. Next time, we will bring 10 ships, then 100, then 1,000, and every single one will be designed to kill Korthans specifically. Dravik closed the transmission. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, one by one, the Korthan ships began to turn away. Their faster-than-light drives activated. They jumped away, leaving the Helix Nebula empty except for debris and the damaged Defiant. The bridge was silent. Then someone started clapping. Then another person. Soon the entire bridge crew was applauding and cheering. Ji-Wan sat back in her chair. Her hands were shaking. She had been certain they were going to die. "Captain," Yuna said quietly, "hull integrity is at 12%. We have multiple reactor warnings. Life support is failing in 6 sections. We lost 127 crew members. 340 wounded." The celebration stopped. The price of victory was high. "Get us back to Earth," Ji-Wan said quietly. "Best speed." "Aye, Captain," the helmsman replied. As the Defiant limped away from the battlefield, Ji-Wan looked at the debris field. 18 Korthan ships destroyed, dozens more damaged, and one ugly, primitive human warship still flying. The galaxy would hear about this. They would have to reassess everything they thought they knew about humanity. And Ji-Wan suspected that assessment would lead to one conclusion: never underestimate the humans again. Earth's prototype warship was ridiculed until it wiped out the entire Armada. The journey back to Earth took 6 days. For Captain Ji-Wan Kang, they were the longest 6 days of her life. The Defiant was falling apart around them. Every few hours, another system failed. Every few hours, engineering teams had to perform emergency repairs just to keep them moving. But they made it. When Earth finally appeared on the view screen, the entire crew felt relief wash over them. They were not the only ones waiting. 20 Earth military ships surrounded them as they approached. Medical vessels, repair ships, and Admiral Minho Choi himself aboard the flagship Incheon. "Defiant, this is Admiral Choi," the transmission came through. "Welcome home, Captain. You have made us all proud." Ji-Wan was too tired to feel much emotion. "Thank you, sir. We need immediate medical assistance. We have critical wounded." "Already arranged. Medical ships are moving to dock with you now. Ji-Wan, the whole galaxy is talking about what you did." As the Defiant docked with Earth's orbital station, the medical teams rushed aboard. They moved through the damaged corridors, carrying stretchers, bringing supplies. Dr. Hana Shin had kept the wounded alive through 6 days of barely functioning life support. Now, finally, they could receive proper care. Ji-Wan walked through her ship one last time before disembarking. The corridors were scorched and torn. Whole sections were exposed to vacuum, sealed behind emergency bulkheads. There was blood on some walls where crew members had died at their posts. She found engineer Yuna Park in the main engineering section. Yuna was still working, even though they had docked. She was downloading data from the ship's computers, recording everything that had happened. "We need to preserve all the battle data," Yuna explained when she saw Ji-Wan. "Every sensor reading, every weapon performance metric. This information will help us design the next generation." "Next generation?" Ji-Wan asked. "Of course. The Defiant proved the concept. Now we build better versions, faster, stronger, smarter." Ji-Wan looked around at the damaged engineering bay. "Do you think Earth will actually build more?" Yuna smiled. "Captain, the admirals are already placing orders. I have 15 messages waiting for me. They want to know how soon we can have construction plans ready." They left the ship together. As they walked through the docking tube toward the station, Ji-Wan realized that everything had changed. Before, humans were the newcomers, the primitives, the species that everyone dismissed. Now, they were the species that had destroyed a Korthan armada. The station was crowded with people waiting to greet them. Sailors, officers, civilians. They all applauded as the Defiant's crew emerged. Some were crying, others were cheering. Admiral Minho approached Jiwon and saluted. She returned the salute, confused. Admirals did not salute captains. "Captain Kang," Minho said formally, "on behalf of Earth Command and the United Earth Government, I present you with the Star of Valor. Your actions have saved countless lives and secured humanity's place in the galaxy." He pinned a medal to her uniform. Then he did the same for Yuna, for Lieutenant Do-Yun Lee, for Chief Weapons Officer Taeho Song, for Ensign Minji Han, for every crew member who had survived. Later, Jiwon sat in a debriefing room with military intelligence officers. They wanted to know everything, every detail of the battle, every weapon used, every tactic employed. "The Galactic Coalition has requested a meeting," one officer said. "They want to discuss the battle, specifically your use of nuclear weapons." "Are they going to try to ban them?" Jiwon asked. "They might try, but we are not part of the coalition yet. We do not have to follow their rules." Another officer pulled up a star map. "The Korthan Empire has withdrawn from all border regions. They are claiming the attack was unauthorized. They are blaming High Commander Dravik and saying he acted without approval." "That is a lie," Jiwon said. "Dravik had 47 ships. You do not assemble that kind of force without government approval." "Of course it is a lie, but it is a lie that lets them save face. They are offering reparations for the mining station, 5 billion credits and a formal apology." "We should accept," Jiwon said. "We won the battle, but we do not want a war. Not yet." 3 days later, Ambassador Sora Kim stood before the Galactic Coalition Assembly at Nexus Prime. The same assembly hall where the Defiant had been mocked was now packed with representatives from hundreds of worlds. Everyone wanted to hear what humanity had to say. Sora was a small woman, barely over 1.5 meters tall. But when she spoke, her voice carried authority. "Members of the Coalition," she began. 3 weeks ago, I stood in this hall and watched as you mocked our warship. You called it primitive. You called it a joke. You said it would last less than a minute in combat." She paused, looking around the room. "You were wrong." The room was silent. The Defiant faced a fleet of 47 Korthan ships. "By all your calculations, it should have been destroyed immediately. Instead, it destroyed 18 enemy vessels and forced the rest to retreat. It survived. It won." A Korthan representative stood up. "Not Velrith. He was not invited to this assembly. This was a different Korthan, younger and less arrogant." "Ambassador Sora, the Korthan government deeply regrets the incident. High Commander Dravik has been removed from command. We wish to move forward in peace." "As do we," Sora replied. "But let me be clear about something. You did not attack us because you were evil. You attacked us because you thought you could win. You thought we were weak. The only reason you are offering peace now is because you learned you were wrong." She pulled up a holographic display. It showed technical specifications of the Defiant. "You mocked our technology. You said it was obsolete. But let me explain something about human engineering. We do not build things to impress. We build things to work. The Defiant uses nuclear reactors because they are reliable. It uses railguns because they are effective. It uses simple computers because they cannot be jammed." Another hologram appeared, this time showing a shipyard. Dozens of ships in various stages of construction, all based on the Defiant design. "The Defiant cost us 20 billion credits to build. A Korthan dreadnought costs 400 billion. For the cost of one of your flagships, we can build 20 warships, and our industrial capacity is growing." She let that sink in. "Right now, we have 12 ships under construction. In 6 months, we will have 30. In a year, we will have 100. In 5 years, we could have 1,000. A representative from a species called the Volthene spoke up. Ambassador, are you threatening the coalition? No, Sora said. I am explaining reality. Humanity has been dismissed as weak because we are new, because our technology looks primitive. But we have proven that is a mistake. We can defend ourselves. More than that, we can defeat forces that outnumber us. She changed the hologram again. This time it showed the battle in the Helix Nebula. Watch this, she said. The assembly watched as the Defiant fought. They saw the railguns punch through shields. They saw the hunter-killer drones overwhelm defenses. They saw the Kasaba howitzer weapons vaporize ships. When it ended, the room was silent. Your weapons are designed to fight each other, Sora continued. Energy shields against energy weapons. Quantum jammers against advanced computers. Your entire military doctrine is based on the assumption that everyone fights the same way. We do not. We fight with mass and momentum. We fight with simple systems that cannot be confused. We fight with weapons you stopped using 10,000 years ago because you thought they were obsolete. She looked directly at the Korthan representative. You learned this lesson. Do not make us teach it to anyone else. Over the next week, everything changed for humanity. Species that had ignored Earth's diplomatic messages suddenly wanted to talk. Trade agreements were offered. Technology exchanges were proposed. Defense pacts were suggested. The Galactic Coalition voted to grant humanity full membership status with military protection guarantees. The vote was unanimous. Back on Earth, Jiwan sat in a small apartment and watched the news reports. Every channel was talking about the battle. Some called it the miracle at Helix. Others called it the day humanity grew up. Military analysts argued about tactics. Engineers debated design philosophy. There was a knock on her door. She opened it to find Yuna standing there, holding 2 bottles of something that was probably alcohol. I thought you might want company, Yuna said. They sat on Jiwan's small balcony, looking up at the stars. Somewhere up there, the Defiant was being repaired. It would never fight again. Earth Command had decided to make it a museum ship, a symbol of what humans could achieve. Do you think we did the right thing? Jiwan asked. We killed a lot of people, Korthan crews who were just following orders. They attacked us first, Yuna replied. They destroyed a mining station. They killed 3,000 civilians. We defended ourselves. That is not wrong. I know, but I keep thinking about those ships exploding, all those people dying. Yuna was quiet for a moment. War is ugly. It always is. But you know what would have been worse? If we had run, if we had let them take our colonies, if we had shown the galaxy that humans can be pushed around. Now they know they cannot push us, Jiwan said. Exactly. And maybe that means there will be less war in the future. Maybe other species will think twice before attacking anyone, not just humans. The next day, Jiwan was called to Earth Command headquarters. She expected another debriefing. Instead, she found herself in a ceremony hall with all her surviving crew. The president of United Earth was there, fleet admirals, senators, journalists. Captain Jiwan Kang, the president said, Engineer Yuna Park, Lieutenant Do-Hyun Lee, Chief Tai-Ho Song, Ensign Minji Han, Dr. Hana Shin, and all the crew of the Defiant. You have earned not just medals, but the gratitude of all humanity. You faced impossible odds and won. You showed the galaxy who we are. He paused. But more importantly, you showed us who we are. We are survivors. We are innovators. We do not give up. We find a way. Thank you for reminding us of that. The ceremony ended with the unveiling of a monument. It was a statue showing the Defiant, scarred and damaged, but still flying. At the base were the names of the 127 crew members who had died in the battle. Jiwan stood there for a long time, reading the names. These people had trusted her. They had followed her orders. They had died under her command, but they had also won. They had protected Earth. They had earned humanity's place among the stars. 6 months later, the first of the new warships launched. They called them Defiant Class. They were improved versions of the original, faster, tougher, with better weapons. But they kept the same philosophy: simple systems, reliable technology, weapons that worked. 30 ships launched in the first year, then 50 more, then 100. The galaxy watched and learned. Some species started copying human designs. Others developed new countermeasures. But everyone understood the lesson: never underestimate humanity. Never assume that advanced technology beats simple effectiveness. Never forget that in war, the side that wants it more usually wins. Ji-Wan retired from active duty after a year. She was tired of fighting. She became an instructor at the Naval Academy, teaching young officers about tactics and strategy. Yuna continued designing ships, each one built on what she had learned from the Defiant, each one better than the last. The Korthan Empire never attacked human space again. They became quiet neighbors, respectful and cautious, and the Defiant, repaired and restored, hung in orbit around Earth. A museum ship where people could walk through the corridors and see where history had been made. In the end, Ji-Wan thought, they had not just won a battle. They had won respect. They had proven that humanity belonged among the stars, not because they had the best technology, not because they were the strongest or the fastest, but because they refused to give up. Because they found a way to win even when everyone said it was impossible. That was the human way. That had always been the human way. And the galaxy would never forget it.